Welcome back to Just Nuts. Sorry, guys. Literally, my OBS was like failing to record like 10 times in a row. So by the time we got to this one and it actually worked, I was just kind of like, you're going to work this time? This time for real? This one's the one? Cool. All right, we're into it. Anyway, we got a couple cards. We got a good little wave of cards that we got revealed to be like the next, I guess, set wave of V-Jump promos for the OCG. So we don't actually have these confirmed for any set in the TCG, but I think they're interesting cards just to at least put in your head, especially if you are interested in like Performa Pals or DDDs. There's some cool stuff here, and also a new Tenyi monster that we'll get to in a little bit. So let's start with the first three. We start with Performa Pal Miss Director. She's a Dark Spellcaster Tuner effect monster, level 6, 0 attack, so meh, but 2,000 defense, so decent booty. And you can only use its third effect once per turn. While you control an Odd Eyes monster, your opponent cannot select this card for an attack. Okay, not super relevant, but okay. Well, this card is in defense position. Odd Eyes monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle, and you take no damage from those battles. I guess you're kind of like locking your opponent out of battle phase with these two effects, right? If you just control her and any Odd Eyes monster, they have to attack the Odd Eyes, but the Odd Eyes can't be destroyed while she's in defense mode, so, or can't be destroyed by battle at least. And you take no damage. They can even be in attack mode. That's like a super weak lock for like current times in Yu-Gi-Oh, but okay. And then once another one says you can target one level 1 monster in your graveyard, special summon it, but its effects are negated, and if you do, immediately after this effect resolves, synchro summon one synchro monster using only that monster and this card as the materials. So you can't really use a level 1 tuner, so like Glow Bulb doesn't really work, but I'm sure there's some level 1s in the Performer Pal archetype. I don't know the archetype that crazy well, but I'm sure there's something in there. Just revive something and make a 7. That's pretty decent. I actually like that effect a lot. And that's just a hard once per turn. So that actually, this effect makes this card way better. This is just a once per turn. A lot of effects like that are just like hard once per duels, stuff like that. But this is just once per turn, which is pretty good. Maybe this card could be a part of some combos. I don't know. Then we'll move to a new DD monster, DD Evil, a Dark Fiend Pendulum effect monster with an 8 scale, also being level 4 with 2,000 attack. I like that. With a pendulum effect that reads, once while this card is in the pendulum zone, when your opponent pendulum summons a monster or monsters, you can activate this card for the rest of this turn. That monster or monsters cannot attack. Also, their effects are negated. That doesn't seem too crazy good. I mean, you're playing pendulums, right? So you got to assume you can pop off pretty hard. So I guess if you can set this up in your scale against a pendulum player, that's the other thing, is like it's pretty specific. It only works against other pendulum decks. But I guess it can be fairly strong. I mean, they can't go on the offensive in the battle phase that turn, and also their effects are negated. So if they pen summon out something like Harmonizing Magician, they do not get to resolve Harmonizing a special from deck. So not bad, definitely not bad. But yeah, interesting. And then the second effect, or I'm sorry, it's monster effects. Second effect is a hard once per turn. First effect says you cannot attack with this monster unless you control another DD monster. Not the biggest problem, you're only playing this in DDs anyway. And then during your opponent's main phase, it's a quick effect. Target one pendulum summon monster your opponent controls and negates effects until the end of the turn. So this is literally like an anti-pendulum card. Doesn't really do much outside of like the pendulum matchup. But maybe this is just a weird spicy side deck card, or if we do see pendulums become like super popular again, or some new pendulum deck comes out, or maybe all the other decks get hit on the ban list coming up, and then maybe pendulums rise into that top tier. Maybe this card becomes relevant for DDs, but I don't really see this card being too incredibly relevant. It's just too specific to just pendulum decks. And then we have Smoke Mosquito, a level 1 dark insect that works with our girl up there. Both of the effects are hard once per turns each. During damage calculation, when you take battle damage from an opponent's monster attack, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, have the battle damage you take from this battle and end the battle phase after this damage step is over. So he ends the battle phase, which is kind of nice, but he doesn't negate the attack, so the monster's like still dying. Or if you took direct damage, you're still taking damage. He just specials out and ends the battle phase. He's like a worse version of Battle Fader. Like, right? If I'm not mistaken. Also, you can target one face of monster you control. This card's level becomes the same of that monster's until the end of the turn. So that's like XZ's support, I guess. I don't know. This card just seems super mediocre to me. He's interesting. He's cool, but not good for sure. All right, let's move up to like probably one of the prime cards we're going to talk about here, which is Zero God Reiji. We've got, let's see, God DD, Zero King, Zero God Reiji, a Dark Fiend Pendulum Effect monster with a 0 scale. Always the low scales are good. Level 10, 0/0 are its stats. And its pendulum effects are 2 Hard One's Return effects that read like this. If you would take effect damage, you take no damage from that effect instead. Not bad. I mean, that's just a nice little hand me, right? Hand me off, right? Once per turn, right? You can literally just do that against like Trick Stars, not take some burn or whatever. I don't know. Nothing crazy. Second effect says, level 5 or higher DD monsters you tribute summon can be tribute summoned without tributing. Okay. So that's a nice, you can just normal summon essentially any DD monster from your hand, which can just help you unbrick, because I think DDs do play a decent amount of the higher level ones. So if you can't get to scales or you have an awkward hand, sometimes you can just normal summon a big boy out and do some work like that. That could be cool. For the monster effects, we have first effect says where you can tribute one other monster. Select one of these effects to apply until the end of this turn. This card can attack directly. Your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in their spell and trap zones. Ooh, okay, that's not a quick effect though. So you'd be activating this to try and bait out back row or just lock down the whole back row for the turn. Still a useful effect. And then your opponent cannot activate card effects from their hand or graveyard. So no hand traps and no anything from grave during your turn at least. See, if this was a quick effect, you'd be busted, right? Like literally just say they can't activate spells during their turn, or just say no cards from hand or graveyard, just completely shutting down a couple archetypes right now. But during your turn, it's not that bad. It's just supposed to protect you to let you play. I like that. Baits out stuff. And then when this card declares an attack, while your opponent's life point is 4,000 or less, you can have this card attack become the same as your opponent's life points until the end of this turn. Wait, what? That's broken. So if your opponent is 4,000 or less, you can just make this guy, if they're at 39, they could be at 4,000. Let's say they're at 4,000. You attack, you literally just make him 4,000? Dang. That's crazy. That's pretty nuts. That effect's kind of busted. And then the last effect says, cannot be destroyed by battle, and you take no damage from battles involving this card. So even if your opponent attacks this guy, he is safe. So his 0/0 stat line does not really matter that much. Also keep in mind that he has this effect up here. If you tribute something else, you can make this guy attack directly. So just let this guy attack directly. If he attacks while your opponent's 4,000 life, you just win. That's kind of crazy. This card's kind of wild. I'm not sure if he's super playable in DDs, but he's super interesting for sure. He seems like he could be possibly really, really good. All right, and then let's go to a new Chaos Impact card called Chobham, Armor Dragon. So he's a level 1 Dark Dragon effect monster, 0 attack, 0 defense, and his second effect is a hard once per turn. When an opponent's monster declares a direct attack, you can activate this effect. Special summon this card from your hand in attack position, and if you do, this card cannot be destroyed by battle and have all battle damage you take from battles involving this card. So you stop yourself from taking all of that damage, but it really doesn't do much. I mean, they're still going to deal you some damage. You're 0. They're just going to deal you half. Why not get in for some damage? And then you just put a level 1 monster if that's all you did. So this card seems super mediocre. If this card is sent to the graveyard as material for a link summon, you can target one dark monster in your graveyard, except this card. Add that monster to your hand. Also, your opponent can add one monster from their graveyard to their hand. See, that destroys this. That makes this, like, unusable. Like, why are you going to give your opponent another monster back to their hand? That just makes this, like, unusable, right? I think this card's really bad, but cool. And then something that's super interesting here is we have another Tenyi Link Boss monster. It's another, I guess, jump promo. Yeah, V jump. Yeah, he's really cool. Tenyi, Master of the Dragon Fist. We do not have an effect for him yet, but I think this is really interesting to see. The fact that they're even covering up his text box means he has to have an effect, which I think is super interesting. Because like the Link 2 is an effect monster, but I think it's super as an interesting dynamic that you're trying to have the Link 1 or Link 3 as your end situation, but she is an interesting like middle piece to help you extend. And maybe this guy is another option as well, where sometimes maybe if you can extend further, like why not go into this guy and then link him away like after, right? Depending on what he does. So I think this is really, really interesting. I'm really excited to see what he does. He also points 3 arrows down, which is spicy. Obviously, Tenyis, I don't think Tenyis particularly lend themselves to playing combined with other strategies, especially not effect monster strategies. But they're interesting, and opening up 3 zones is always good. So we'll see where this guy ends up, what he ends up doing, if he's actually good. I hope he's a legitimate like alternate option from going into Ashura or the dragon, not the dragon, the ogre of Tenyi. But really cool. I'm excited to see what this guy does. That's pretty much it for all the cards we got revealed today. Pretty interesting pendulum stuff and battle phase shenanigans. But guys, let me know what you think about these cards. If you think the D cards are actually legitimately good and actually help DDs, let me know. And tell me. I want to know. I don't really know that much about DDs. But I'm going to end it off there, guys. Thank you so much for watching this, news situation. There was a ton of news today. I already released 2 videos today, so go watch those as well. And we'll see you in the next one. Peace.